Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can we all see my screen?
Yes, please.
Um, the effects we are getting, is it done? Can you see my screen properly? Can we all see my screen properly?
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it.
Properly. Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to our final session in the theory class. I trust we have been having a wonderful time. I trust we've learned a lot. So, in the previous class, there was, I'm sure we also learned a lot about how to implement, theories in our design, like repetition, patterns, and some other technical things like that. I hope it's not too much, but by the time we get to the practical aspects, you will understand why all these things are important. By the time we start applying them, you will now understand the value of what we are currently doing. Do we understand? So before I start, this is the final session. So along the line, I'll be throwing some questions to us. You know me, I like to look for our trouble a little bit. When we explain certain things, I'll be throwing some questions to us to see if we've been getting the idea of everything we've been doing, because those things will come up during our discussion tonight. So I hope we are geared up. I hope we have something that we can we have writing materials, or we are taking mental notes of whatever we are about to do. Once again, my name is Adegoke Peter, and let's get right into it. So, the power of images. The power of images. The power of images. Images can be a powerful force in design. No matter what the subject, we are naturally drawn to them. From beautiful high definition photos to carefully crafted graphics, they are usually the first things we see. You know, we humans, we are very visual by nature. If I want to catch your attention, if I want to create a striking impression on you, I'll look for an image that that I feel will resonate with you. So the moment you see it, you're automatically drawn to the message. Do you understand? There's a reason why all these companies use recognizable faces like Wizkid, Davido, Tiwa Savage, and they pay them a lot because they know that we are naturally drawn to these people. We are naturally drawn to any message that is attached to their identity. Do you understand? So anytime you see their picture, just because you recognize the video, you're a huge fan of the video, before seeing the message, your eye will be drawn to whatever they're about to say because it's the video on the billboard. Do you understand? That's how powerful someone's image can be. For example, for those of us that are conversant with history, the moment you see a picture of Adolf Hitler, Adolf Hitler, without any context, without anything, you already know what is associated with Adolf Hitler. Do you understand? The genocide, the amount of war crimes and the like. So that is how powerful images can be, just by because it resonates with us. There is a popular saying that an image, can say 1,000 words, more than 1,000 words. Do you understand? So that's how powerful images are. However, images aren't just for decoration. Just like I've explained before, they are not for decoration. They hook the viewers in. Compelling visuals can help you connect with the audience, make a strong impression before they've even read what's a word. So now, finding images. You don't have to be an artist to use images in your work. All it takes is a little creativity and willingness to think outside the box. With the right resources, you can learn to set your designs apart. First, finding high quality images for almost any type of project. So you don't have to be an artist, you don't have to be a photographer before you can use images in your work. You just need to find the right image and apply it what properly. So now, using stock. Maybe you are handy with a camera or have some graphic design experience. That's great. If not, don't panic. There are countless online resources that offer images for that exact purpose. So I'm going to be giving us a few websites that we can visit, but you don't have to be a photographer before you have access to images. Do you understand? So you don't have to be a photographer to have access to images. There are so many online resources where you can get stock images. Do you understand? That fit into the theme of your design. Do you understand? So if you go to these websites, let's say you want to design something, there are paid and free websites also. Let's say you want to design something that has to do with graduation. You just go to those websites. They have a search bar, just like what we have here. Just like what we have here, they have a search bar, and you just type in graduation. Do you understand? So let's just quickly have a practical example. I will go to this stock footage site. It's called Pexels. Pexels.com. If you have a note, you can write it down. Pexels.com. And let me type in graduation. Graduation. You'll see that it will bring out images of people that are graduating. Do you understand? So you can easily pick whichever image you feel will fit into your scheme. Now, you have to be careful whenever you are selecting stock images. We also get to that. So this is just a practical example. This is another hint. So you can write it down. Pexels.com is a great place to get stock images. So now, using stock, the truth is most people, including professionals, rely on free or low-cost images called stock. Stock is perfect when you need something specific. For example, a photo of a tiny dog in a teacup and you don't have the time or the resources to recreate it yourself. You know, when you need the photo of a tiny dog in a teacup, some of us don't have dogs available. Some of us don't have teacups that will fit the image, the model of what we are going for. Is either low cost or is free. So you don't have to have all the resources to put some things together. For instance, now, getting an astronaut to take picture of one. So while you don't have access to that, you can just go on your stock website and just search a picture of an astronaut and you'll find it there. So that you are going for. So now, choosing effective stock. You know, I like to take us through, like I like to have like practical sessions so you can understand. To like most stock image site lets you browse or search their offerings, look for results that are relevant to your project or also unique in some way. You know, as the example that I've given you about Pexels.com now, while we are scrolling through, you can see that there are dozens of images. Do you understand? And it can be overwhelming at times. Can be overwhelming at times because they all look very catchy. Some of there's what they call when you give someone too much choice. It's all some of us will end up scrolling for hours on hours on terms of finding the perfect image. So my own trick is that anytime I'm going through a stock website, I will scroll through very fast. Anytime, please pay attention. This is a practical application. So anytime something catches my eye, when I'm scrolling through very fast, anytime something catches my eye, like this now, that's caught my eye, and I feel okay, this will work. Or look at this, for example, if you are part of the previous class, you can see that in this particular image, let me zoom in. You can see that there is a space at this side. Can you see? There's a space at this side where I can fill in more details. I can write, I can put my text, I can put other elements of design. Do you understand? So this is how you scroll through thousands of options and then you find the perfect image. Do you understand? But I still feel this is not high resolution enough. You see, I've zoomed in and I see that the detail is not clear. So I can also scroll down and find something similar or keep searching, but I'll keep a mental note of what this image, that this is one of my options. So this is how you can, you know, scroll through and find. Look at this one now. You see, this image has caught my eye. The same space and the same negative space that I'm looking for is there. So remember this, you know, I said we'll be calling back to all that you've learned. This is the final session. So when I'm saying these technical terms, you should know what it means. So you can see that this space here is available. I still have that same negative space, and I can put my text, put my details here, or adjust it when I enter the design software. Do you understand now? So I actually like this image. I'll download it. That's how simple it is to get stock image. So now let's continue. Let's continue. So in the example, we've searched for the word travel. The image below will be a fine choice because it subtly illustrates the concept of travel, but it has a personal feel. Like the example we have here, you know, we search for graduation in our own physical example. The example we have here, we've searched for travel, and you can see that this illustrates what? someone traveling in a subtle way. It doesn't have someone sitting down with bags and luggages and aeroplane. Like it's a subtle message. Do you understand? It's a subtle way of telling you that someone is travel and it has a personal feel to it. You can envision an ordinary person traveling and looking like this. Do you understand? That's what it means by that personal feel to it. So now, as viewers, we are naturally drawn to images that feel authentic, like distinct but believable photos, and graphics that tells a story. The best images are somewhat open-ended. They set the tone for your project but leave room for interpretation. What this whole thing means is that whenever you see an image, when you show someone an image and you call two people to look at the same image and interpret it, the two personalities will give different illustrations. You understand? They will give a different perspective. They'll give a different view on what that image means or the interpretation of the image. That's what it means by let it be open-minded and open to interpretation. But there will be a general theme. It's not that it will be so abstract that there won't be a theme, but anybody that interprets it, you understand? Anybody that interprets it, two people will interpret it differently. It adds a little bit of depth, that's depth to your it adds depth to your use of image. So now, some stock images are too generic. For instance, how many times have you seen a business like presentation like this type of image? You will see it in old people in PowerPoint presentations all the time. Whenever they are talking about business, you always see this thing. Even on Facebook, when they want to advertise all those Ponzi schemes and all those come here, bring money, we'll do this for you. You bring 1,000, bring 10,000. You always see this image there. It's generic. What they mean by it's generic is that it's too common. It's mainstream. Everybody is using it. If you use this kind of image in your stock, you won't really stand out because it doesn't feel original. It just feels as if you are following a trend that is even outdated. Nobody uses images like this again. So you have to set yourself apart. You don't have to be generic. So now, for a more modern professional design, avoid images that lack context or are too literal in meaning. What I mean, I mentioned something that don't let the image lack context. Let it be open to interpretation, but let it have a general theme. Do you understand? Don't let it be too abstract and don't let it be too literal, like in your face. Do you understand? Instead, look for imagery that is connected to your work, but in a subtle and relatable way. So let it be connected to what you want to do, but let it be subtle, and be in a relatable way. Don't worry, I'll give you us practical examples towards the end. So now, image usage rights. Almost every stock image has a license. Please pay attention. Almost every stock image has a license that states how it can be used. Some are very generous and ask for little to nothing in return. An example is Pexels.com. You know, Pexels.com. On Splash.com is also another platform where you can get free images. So I've given us two websites, Pexels and what? On Splash.com. Others are more restrictive and can have serious legal ramifications if disobeyed. Because you use a stock image, make sure you understand the license associated with it. You might need to do some research if it isn't clearly explained. If the license isn't listed alongside the image, double check. So let me just give you this. In Nigeria, let me give you this example. In Nigeria, we get away with a lot of things. There are so many people that use posters that have copyright issues, but we get away with them because we are in Nigeria. Nobody will, most of the time, the works we do are not vetted. But if you start working professionally and you go and use a stock image and you don't understand the license that is behind it, maybe it's not available for commercial use and you went to use it for a commercial company, those people, they will sue them. And at the end of the day, the backlash will come to you and then you lose a loyal customer. Do you understand? You have to understand the license behind each image. Some people, they'll say, okay, this license is for personal and portfolio use only. You cannot use it commercially. You can use it to display your work. You can use it to work for yourself as long as you are not using it for commissioned work. Do you understand? As long as it's your personal work, the license covers it. But the moment you sell your design and you use that image in something that is a commissioned work and you get paid for it, the license no longer covers it and to you are liable to a copyright claim. Do you understand? So you must understand it. And these websites, if you just check their policies and their FAQs, you will find the appropriate licenses there. For instance, some of us will go and pirate image and we use it for a corporate, a proper company, a proper company. And those websites, they have a way to reverse engineering called reverse search. So most of the time at intervals, they reverse search their images or they put tags. There's what they call tagging. They put tags in those images. So they will just reverse search it on the internet, and anytime they find their pictures being used, they will now confirm whether this person has purchased the actual license. If you have not purchased the license, they will sue your client. And you want to work for someone, you just see an image you like and you go online and you steal the person's image. And the backlash comes. We have taught you here at the Pishons Academy. You understand? Don't do it. So now the importance of quality. Of course, it's not just, you see, I laid emphasis on that. I laid emphasis on the copyright. Oh, it's a serious thing. Oh. We are professionals. We are training us to be professionals. So take note of that. So now the importance of quality. Of course, it's not just about content. There is also a technical side to images, which can have a big impact on your design. It doesn't matter if a photo you've chosen is absolutely perfect in every other way. If it's blurry or pixelated, it could give the wrong impression. Don't select images that are crisp. You know, I mentioned something the other time about this lady, about the lady, the initial picture I saw in this graduation picture. You know, the picture looks nice. It has everything I want. The negative spacing is there. But look at the lady's face. It's quite blurry. It's not as sharp as I want it to be. Do you understand? It's not as sharp as I want it to be. And I ended up finding one that is crisp and sharp. You can see it's crisp, it's sharp. You can see the details on the beards. So I ended up going for this one, despite the fact that this one is perfect to me too. This one is perfect also, but it's blurry. Do you understand? So the quality of your image is more important than every other aspect of the image. Do you understand? It must be sharp. It must give that premium feel. If it does not, it will affect the quality of your work. So now look for high quality images that are sharp, clear, and free of distortion. In general, bigger is better because it gives you more to work with. A large high size resolution image can also be cropped or resized depending on the project. For instance, now this my brother's picture. You can see that I don't need the full gown. I just need this part. I just need this part. I will trim off the gown. I just need his head with the graduation cap and the negative space. So now imagine if this image is not high quality. By the time I crop it off and I zoom in, the image will become more what pixelated. But because this is high quality, I can cut, I can crop and zoom in as much as I like. This is something you can practice with your phone. Take a picture with a very take a picture and then crop it in, crop it in. You see that the more you crop it in, the lower the quality of the image. So if your image is high quality initially, by the time you crop it in, you won't lose too much detail. Now, unfortunately, it does not work the other way around. If you enlarge a small image, it will make it bigger than the original size. There will be a noticeable loss in quality. It will become blurry or distorted, as in the example below. We'll still explain what pixelation is subsequently in the following slide. So you can see, if the image is small from the onset, by the time you expand it, and by the time you expand the image, it will become blurry. But when you reduce a big image, when you reduce a large image to a smaller size, it doesn't lose information, it becomes sharper. But when you increase a smaller size image to a bigger size, it becomes what? It becomes blurry. So raster versus vector. There's a reason small images lose quality when you enlarge them. It's because they are made up of thousands of pixels, some even millions of tiny little pixels. The word for this type of image is called raster. If you are using a phone that has an LCD panel, I think I have a phone that has an LCD panel here. If you notice the screen, if you look closely, like if you look closely into the screen, I'm not sure if I can show you the details here. You can't really see it. But if you look closely into your phone, you'll see tiny squares. If you can see it, can anybody indicate if you've noticed it before? This is an LCD panel. You might not notice it in an OLED panel. If you've noticed that kind of thing before, can you just indicate? You can unmute your mic.
Yes, I've noticed it before.
Yes. So those tiny things, they are pixels. They are what makes up of your image. Do you understand? So anytime you hear 720p, that means is what? Or you most of us have had 720p, 1080p, 4K, 8K. Those things simply mean 720p means 720 pixels per inch. Do you understand? That means in 1 inch of your screen, if your screen is 720, if you are using a 7, for instance, this is a 720 panel, this is a ZTE LCD panel, this is a 720 panel, 720p panel. That means it has 720 pixels per inch. That is what 720p means. If they say 1080p, that means it has 1080 pixels per inch. Do you understand? So the larger the pixel size per inch, the sharper the image. That is what a raster image is. When they say something is a raster image, that is what it means. The larger the pixel size. So you see, we are teaching you professional terms. So 1080p means what? 1080 pixels per what? Per inch. Do you understand? And it increases by an AP, by an arithmetic progression. That is how it increases. That's why we have 480p, 720p, 1080p. Do you understand? So now, a raster is made up of tiny little pixels. That is why when you expand it, you have 720, let's say you have 480p, or you have 720p already. You now crop into that 720 pixels per inch. By the time you crop into it, those small pixels will have to increase in size. Do you understand? By the time they now increase in size, that your 720p image might now become 480p. That means it will now become what? Less sharp. It will now become what? Blurry. It will now pixelate. That is where the term pixelating comes from. When you start seeing individual pixels in your what? In your work. So when you view a raster image in its original size, the pixels are invisible. Just like I said, they are too small to see, but they become apparent when you zoom in or you make the image larger. So you now start to see those pixels. For instance, you can see that those small squares are there. That's what they mean by an image what? Pixelating. Don't use it in your design unless you are using it for an artistic purpose. Don't use pixelated images in your design. It is a crime. So now, vector are quite different from raster. You can make vector any size, big or small, without losing quality. In the example below, the image has been enlarged. There's no pixelation, even a little bit. Sometimes you will notice when, if any of us have been involved in print business, they will say submit the file as a Corel file or as PDF or something. Because the encoding is different, it does not pixel. Those formats do not necessarily they are not raster based. You understand? They use a complex geometry system. We'll explain it. So they are not raster based. That's why when you submit for print, they will say, okay, bring it in Corel or in Illustrator or in EPS or in AI or in PDF, because they believe that those things will not pixelate. So when you now print, when you now expand it, when you print on a large flex, those things will not pixelate. Do you understand? So now you can see that's because vectors are made of something more complex than pixels. They are rendered using a special form of geometry. You are not likely to find vector graphics outside of professional design settings, but it's good you know what they are. You are at the Pishons Academy, it's good that you know what vectors are. So when you have a client that tells you that I want my work is going for prints, you tell them that okay, we'll be using a vector-based software, or you'll be doing a vector-based design for you. Do you understand? Those are the technical terms that you can use. So now, cropping. Cropping can be used to change the size, shape, or focus of an image, making it useful in many different situations. For instance, now, I mentioned about my young man's, we are still going back to this young man, that I want to zoom, I want to crop it. This is the kind of look. Can you see the look I'm going for now? You can see that I've cropped out the other graduation down and I'm focusing more on his face, his art, and then my negative space for what? For my text. Do you understand? So that is what cropping is. If I use this entire image, it might not really portray, if I use this entire image, it might not really portray what I'm going for. But if I crop it in and I focus more on his face, his graduation art, and then the space where I can put my text, it feels more what? Organic. Do you understand? It gives me that feeling. It's more striking that way. It's more impactful that way for me. Do you understand? So that's how cropping works. Trying this feature if your graphic is the wrong dimension or if it includes something you rather cut out. For instance, now, this image now, you can see that it's horizontal. Sorry, it's vertical. Do you understand? It's like for phone. And I want to design for 16 by 9. The aspect ratio I want to design for is 16 by 9. Like I want to design for something. I want, this is how the image looks like now. But my graphics is in landscape mode. It's not in portrait mode. It's like this. You can see that this image will not work straight if I put it like that. But if I zoom in and it looks like this, you can see that it now works in landscape mode. That is the power of cropping. Do you understand what I mean? When they mean by, if there's, don't discard images just because the aspect ratio does not match what you want. You can just crop and then let it fit into your what? Design. So resizing an image will ensure it is a perfect fit for your project. Just remember that you can't make an image bigger than its original size without affecting its quality. Just like we've said the other time, you can't make an image bigger without affecting its what? Its original quality. But you can resize, you can make it smaller in order to fit into a particular place. Maybe you want it to align, just like what we've had in our previous classes, you've been paying attention. If you want it to align to a text, or you want it to fit into a particular pattern, do you understand? You can resize it in order to what? To fit. So now, if the image you are working with is simply isn't big enough, it's best to choose something else. Also find a creative way to work with this image size. If you have, in the example below, we've added a background image instead of enlarging the portrait. For instance, now, you encounter lots of difficult clients during the course of your work. You encounter lots of difficult clients. Some people will send you an image. It will be blurry. They'll say they want to create, or let me give you an example, that a practical example you face as a Nigerian designer. They want to do burial for their grandmother. They will now send you one picture, a picture that they took with a blurry phone. They will take it with a phone like this. It's a picture that is already blurry on its own. They will now take that picture with a poor quality phone again. It will now be blurry upon what? Upon blurry. They will now send it to you. Graphic designer, please help us design Jota for our mama's burial. And you now be looking at the image. Mama's face will not show. Everything will just look like oil painting. You know oil painting, how oil painting used to look like. Everything will just match together. And they'll be like, we want to design Jota for our grandmother. And you must find a way. You are the graphic designer. And you now ask that, does your grandmother not have any other picture that we can use? They say our grandmother only took one picture throughout her lifetime, so we don't have any other picture. So how will you solve that problem as a graphic? And you have to solve it. They'll be like, you have to design something for us. And you can't, because if anything goes wrong with that design, they'll say their graphic designer does not know how to work. There are so many tricks. You have to find a creative way. There are so many things that we used to do, because I was a photographer for a while, and I have photographers among us. If anybody among us is a photographer, you know this trick. Some people will now remove that grandmother's head. They will now, that blurry head, they will remove the head alone. They will now go and find a sharp cloth, someone that is wearing a cloth. They will now cut that person's head and put someone that is wearing a very nice clothes that is sharp and put it there. So it will only be the face that will be blurry, but the clothes will be sharp. So that is a creative way to undo a problem. Do you understand? So if you know that you have no choice, you have to think outside the box and find a creative way to solve the problem. Do you understand? So those are practical, these are things you encounter as a professional, and you must know how to navigate. So now other adjustment, I handled the class on color, and if you paid attention in our color class, I don't need to explain more about brightness, contrast, saturation, or color. Are you with me? I think we all, please, can you respond? I think we all understand what this means.
Yes.
We all understand what this means. So we can add all of these values. You understand? We can add all of these parameters in order to like manipulate our image even further. So if, let's say for instance now, you like an image but the color doesn't match the color scheme you are going for, what will you adjust? You adjust the hue. Let's say, okay, I have another question. You answer. Let's say the image I have is too light, and I want a somber tone. I want a very calm tone to my image. What will I adjust? What will I adjust? What will I adjust? What will I adjust? I need answers. What will I adjust? The image is too bright. The image is too bright, and I want it to be calmer, because I want a calm design. What will I adjust? Please unmute your mic and respond to me. Or should I pick someone at random?
The brightness.
I will adjust what? The brightness. Very good. Don't worry, tougher questions are coming. So now, thank you very much. So now, other adjustments. if your favorite program offers filters or presets, you can change the image dramatically with little time or effort. We've all used Instagram before. Some of us will look like Portable, but by the time we add filter, we look like Chris Brown. So that is how dynamic filters can be. Do you understand? That is how much filters can impact our design, our image. Do you understand? So if you can find filters, you can find color overlays, you can find dynamic range overlays, you can find light leaks, depending on this program you are using. I think Photoshop now comes with a set of filters too that you can add. Do you understand? That can just add that little bit of spark. I shouldn't explain much. We all do it all the time. We all add. We remember that Snapchat filter, that 3 love Snapchat filter. We have used it and used it and used it. We look. It makes us look better. That is how much filters can also transform your images when it comes to what? When it comes to design. So now putting it all together, adding photos, graphics, and other visuals to your work is a great way to make it more engaging. Even a simple background image can transform your design into something special. Imagine this particular brochure. Imagine this brochure without this image, without this striking image to highlight the hiking, camping, and climbing aspect of this design. Imagine if this picture was not there. Will it catch your attention as much as it does now? Do you understand? That is how impactful that's how impactful images can be in your design. Now, just remember what you have learned in the image quality, both technical and conceptual. Your work is sure to stand out for the right reason. So what do I mean? Your image must be sharp. I think we understand the difference between sharpness and clarity now. Your image must be sharp, it must be clear, it must be distinct, and what? It must be memorable. What do I mean by sharp? Sharp is like, I mentioned the pixel. If you are working with a raster image, it must be sharp, it must not be blurry. Then it must be clear. It must be clear, like the message is trying to pass must be absolutely what? Clear. Now it must be distinct. It must stand out. Don't let it be generic. It must stand out. Don't let it be generic, and it must be memorable. It must also make an impact. Do you understand? It must impact the user. I can imagine most of us, we can still remember images from what? Biscuits that we've ate so many years ago. That's how memorable those things are. So you understand, it must stay in the mind of what? The consumer, in the mind of those that will consume what? Your graphics. So it must be memorable. So now we hope, and I sincerely hope, that you have enjoyed learning the basics of images, which is the final class in the theory class. So now I will be taking questions. I will be taking questions now. So if you have questions, you can either raise your hand to ask or send it through the chat and we'll respond.
Do you have questions, anyone?
Okay.
Okay. Please go ahead, Victoria. Go ahead, Mr. Joseph.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Go ahead, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. This is Dami. I'm into signage. I build signages. So now I don't know if this image tutorial, because at times whenever clients, because they will maybe if some graphics guy designed for them, they don't send them maybe the corridor file or the PDF file, and most time it is always hard for them to maybe trace back. Graphics guy. There are different types of graphics guys.
Yes.
You understand? So they will just send us. They will just send me the image, like the JPEG.
Okay.
So I'm always finding very difficult to extract the image. Because in signage making we use laser machine, and laser machine there's a file that it says AI. You understand? So I don't know.
Yeah,
extracting that image is always very difficult for me.
So, Mr. Dami, I have two solutions for you. Are you listening?
Okay.
So now, If it's a logo,
Yes.
these are one of the things
Yes.
we are doing in practical. If it's a logo, import it
Yes.
into Adobe Illustrator, and
Okay.
then there's a feature called image trace.
Okay.
So even if the logo is blurry, the moment you
Yes.
use the image trace, it will convert it from raster to what? To vector. Do you understand?
Oh.
It will
Oh.
convert it from raster to vector, and it will be very crisp. It works all the time. Then that works for logos. You know, logos are very simple. It's just
Yes.
geometry. But now,
Yes.
when you are dealing with image, there's this. If you have your internet on now, there's a tool called Topaz Image Enhancer. Topaz Image Enhancer. It's an AI tool. Even if you search
Okay.
online, there are so many applications that can upscale your images for you. So, but Topaz
Okay.
Image Enhancer, it's a paid software. If you are running a signage company, you should be able. Is the subscription is cheap? Do you understand? If you
Yeah.
get
Please,
those
I don't know. Can you put it on the group chat so that I can get the name?
Topaz, Topaz, Topaz Image Enhancer. Do you understand? So it allows you to upscale images,
Okay.
and it's an AI tool, so you can upscale a very low resolution image, and the results are very excellent.
Oh,
So
great.
yeah,
Great.
I think that
Thank you.
answers your question, sir.
Yes. 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 Great. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. The next question. I
Victoria,
think
you can ask
someone
a question.
indicated. Is Victoria still with us?
Victoria, are you there? Mr. Oyeko, are you there? You can also drop questions in the chat box.
I don't think Victoria is still with us. Do we have any more questions?
Any more questions? Okay, Peter, probably you should just ask us questions then.
Okay, so I don't really have okay, your question has been answered. Okay. I don't really have too much questions to ask. I just want to see if we have actually learned anything. So I want a few of us to just respond. Like, have you picked up anything new today? So have you picked up anything new today? Was there a part of this lesson that resonated with you? As there because I understand that some of us have been into design before. Was there anything that we've been to gain clarity on? Can we just respond? You can unmute your microphone and respond. Please let us respond. I think Victoria is back now. Should I call us randomly? Mr. Art Builder, you have been quiet. Can you please just say something? Mr. Art Builder, are you there? I don't think he's here with us. Victoria, Miss Victoria, you had a question the other time before you left.
Okay, yeah. So good evening, sir.
Good evening, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, ma'am.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much, sir, for the
Yes.
presentation. I actually have a question. It's actually concerning this downloading, pictures from Google.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you, ma'am.
Okay, yeah. So I always have difficulties with downloading because sometimes whenever I try to download very quality pictures, because I can I even say I'm actually learning UI UX, beginning UI UX.
Okay,
So
okay, okay, ma'am.
I always try to download pictures. So, but I decided to join this graphic design just for me to have more knowledge on designs.
Okay,
So
ma'am.
So I don't know how I can actually get very quality pictures. As in, I don't know, because some of the pictures I always get on Google, some of them immediately I try to download it, and it will of course reduce quality and things like that. So I don't know if there is some ways that a graphic designer can actually get, or there's, some website or something like that I can download very quality. And most quality pictures is always watermarks with, their logos and things like that. So I don't know how.
Yes, ma'am. I as a UI UX designer, most of the things you use, most of the programs you use, most of the images you use will be vector based. And the reason why we go for vector as you go for vector as a UI UX designer is that we people will consume your website or your application or your program on different screen resolutions. Do you understand? As we've explained in terms of images. So if it works on a small screen, if it's not a vector, if it doesn't, it might not work on a big screen. So you actually need to use vector images, and the best place to get them, vector illustrations or a very high resolution image. We've given an example of on splash.com and pexels.com. Now, if you are looking for vector, there's a website called Vecteezy, Vecteezy. So there's a website called Vecteezy, Vecteezy.com. You can get vector. They are paid. They are premium vector files there, but there are tons and tons of resources. There are tons and tons of free. Yes, Vecteezy.com. There are tons and tons of free vector files that you can use for your project as a UI UX designer, and they work all the time. I can guarantee you, if you go there, it's like you are in a candy store. There are so many options that you can use. Just search for whatever you are looking for. You find those vector files there, and it is and most of the license. Now, be careful on Vecteezy. Most of the licenses there are for personal use. So if you are working on something that you want to put on your portfolio as a UI UX designer, Vecteezy is perfect for you. You get more than enough vector files that you use. And even the commercial, some of them have commercial licenses too, and free. So you can also pick them up and use them. So Vecteezy is perfect for you. Don't use Freepik. Freepik is also another platform. Freepik, Freepik. Freepik is also a perfect platform to get vector files and even image files. But most of their free images are for personal use only. So Freepik is also an option. But Vecteezy is the perfect option for you, man. I think that has answered that question, man.
Okay, she
That
replied
has
yes.
answered that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any other question from the house before we call it today? So, Peter, what do you think? I think that's all the questions we have.
I think that's all the question. I trust
Okay.
you've had a wonderful time. So over to you, my moderator, sir.
All right. So, thank you so much, Peter. Thank you, everyone, for joining the class. So, I would like us to actually run an exercise. Yeah. So, I want us to all drop our experience throughout the theoretical class on our socials. Kindly drop it on all our socials, and please do tag us. Make use of the hashtag. Let's drop all our experience. We'll actually take note of the people that engaged us on socials, and those that actually drop their experience throughout the theory training. Yeah. So we'll continue with our practical class. We'll notify us in the group when we would start the practical class. Also on the applications to be used, the softwares, applications for phone users, and softwares for laptop users. So thank you so much all. Please, if you have any question, please always drop it on the WhatsApp group anytime, any day. Our tutors would always reply your questions. Thank you so much. Please drop all feedbacks. I'm seeing you all in the chat box. Thank you. Kindly drop them on all our across our socials. Thank you so much. Do have a great weekend. And of course, happy independence. Hereby.